So, dear friends, let me begin with the message for this weekend, the Sunday Gospel and the readings. It's beautiful, a theme that affects each one of us, and perhaps a problem that many of us find very difficult to solve. We are confronted day after day with this anger, hatred, perhaps even revenge. So today's readings speak about forgiveness, a great quality, unfortunately very much lacking in most of us. Forgiveness. The gospel is something very strange today. You can't understand the mathematics that Jesus speaks of. It starts with a very simple question by Peter asks Jesus, "How often will my brother sin against me and I try to forgive him?" And Peter himself gives the answer. Perhaps he must have thought a great answer. 7 times. Is it 7 times, he asks. But Jesus tells him, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. The number 7 in the Gospels, in the Bible, it's sort of a complete number. 7, you do 7 times and it's over. It's over. You don't have to do it again. The 7 sacraments. We speak of the 7 days that God created. And so the number 7 is a wholesome, a complete number in the Bible. And to be told that not 7 but 70 times 7, which means there's no measure about forgiveness. And Jesus also gives that beautiful parable to see the difference between the forgiveness that we receive and the forgiveness that we give to the others. Gospel speaks about this parable of a king to whom the servant is brought or comes because he has taken a very, very big loan, 10,000 talents. It's a very big amount. But then when the servants fall at the feet of the king and says that I cannot, have mercy on me, I will pay. And the king out of generosity says, there's no need of paying as such. I forgo of all that you have to give to me. I forgive you of all your loan of such a big amount. But the wonder of it, as soon as he goes out, he meets another fellow servant who doesn't own even 1 talent. Even one, the comparison is just enormous. 10,000 and 100 denarii. 100 denarii is just a few coins, it could be. But then this man is not ready to forgive his fellow servant who has taken just 100 denarii. Even though he repeats the same words, have mercy on me, I shall pay. But then it doesn't matter for him. He goes and tries to punish him, takes the law of the land to say that he should be imprisoned. And when this matter has been brought to the notice of the king not only is furious, but he gives him a punishment that not only that he will not forget, but he will not get out also. So that could be our state, Jesus wants to say, of those that are not ready to forgive. It's not easy to forgive. It's very difficult. Because human nature is such that when we are wounded, when we are hurt, we not only not forgive, but also don't forget. The first reading has also a beautiful message wherein in the book of Sirach, he mentions that forgive your neighbor the wrong he has done, and then your sins will be pardoned when you pray. When you forgive others, of course you are struggling, but then when you forgive others, God also forgives your sins. Does one person harbor anger against another and yet seek healing from the Lord? You need to be healed. You need to be okay. and you are praying desperately, but then God says, if you harbor anger against someone else, surely it's not easy for God to forgive you. Does he have no mercy towards someone like himself, and yet pray concerning his own sins? Meaning to say, in all these sayings, especially of the book of Sirach, to say that unless you forgive others, you have no right to ask forgiveness for yourself, or perhaps even any other favor from God. And this is possible only if you have a heart of Christ. Only if you have in you the nature of Christ. Otherwise, it's impossible to forgive. And so St. Paul says, none of us lives for himself, and none of us dies for himself. Because if we live for Christ, and if we die for the Lord. So whether we live or die, we are the Lord's. And so only in this perspective of the being part of the Lord's nature, rather having the nature of Christ himself in you, it's easy for you to forgive. Otherwise, very difficult. Mahatma Gandhi said it beautifully. He said, forgiveness is not a quality of the weak, because the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is a quality of the strong and the mighty, that they can forgive. 10,000 talents God forgives, and I and you cannot forgive 100 denarii. And I also saw this quotation from Paul Boos, who says, forgiveness does not change the past. It does enlarge the present and the future. Forgiveness does not change the past, but it does enlarge the present and the future. There are three things that can happen when you try to forgive, or that when you need to forgive. The first and foremost is the awareness of yourself, who you are. And at the same time, awareness of God's capacity, God's greatness and generosity. You are in the wrong. You have made blunders yourself. But then, how is it that I ask God for forgiveness in my sinfulness, but then I don't want to forgive others? So therefore, awareness is very important. Secondly, the quality of humility. The quality of humility is very, very important. To be humble, to say that maybe I am also in the wrong, or I could do a wrong. I have done some blunders in the wrong. Humility. I don't know whether you have seen that film, beautiful film that is being shown in our many halls, etc. The film on Rani Maria, Sister Rani Maria, called The Face of the Faceless. There's a beautiful scene there. This man, this murderer, is put in the jail. And I doubt anyone went to see him as such. Everyone had abandoned him, even those that had provoked him to kill Sister Rani Maria. But then one day he has a visitor. He himself is surprised who could come to visit him. And he was surprised because the one who came to visit him was the sister of Sister Rani Maria. She not only comes with a big smile, she wants to tie the Rakhi, the symbol of the brother and sister being close to each other. And not only that, this particular murderer is also taken to the house of Sister Rani Maria. He meets the mother, he meets the family members, and they have no rancor, there's no anger, there's no sarcasm in their saying. They all accept him as their own brother, as the son. The mother is a beautiful scene wherein she almost holds the hands and comes close to the murderer. That's the humility of this saintly family. Thirdly, I say that when you forgive, you have a peace of heart. I have experienced it myself. Sometimes hatred consumes you. Day and night you think of it. Day and night you are worried about it. You're scheming in your mind how you would confront that person, how you would pay him back. Perhaps sometimes unbearable. When I had gone to Pota in the month of May, when I was just sort of sitting there, I saw another family, but the woman seemed to have been someone known to me. Actually, I had not known her, but then she herself came and wished me. And then I asked her, "You look very gracious and radiant. Have you experienced God's grace?" She was silent for some time. She said, "Yes. For the long time, I had not forgiven my husband. Because he was unfaithful to me and betrayed me." And I said, "I will never forgive him for this." For 2 years, I was struggling in my own body and in my mind and my heart. I was sick. I was physically sick. I was mentally sick. I couldn't sleep. So long it is to crawl within me and sort of to tell me that I can never forgive my husband. But when I came here, the preacher said that if you can't do this, there's no point in even continuing with the retreat. And therefore, in my heart, I cried a lot, but I forgave. And the peace of mind that I had. For the first time in my life, the last 2 days, 3 days, I have slept well. I have slept extra because there's a peace in my heart. And therefore, perhaps, forgiveness gives us peace also. So, my dear brothers, we have a beautiful gospel today. I know that it's not simple. It's not so easy to forgive. When you understand what the other person has done, the hatred, the revenge that has been, so much you have suffered, it's not easy to forgive. To err is human, but to forgive is always divine. So let us get into this nature of Jesus himself, as St. Paul would say, that to become Christ-like and to have the nature of Christ in us in order to forgive others.